Alright, so there are 3 mistakes that I see a lot of girls making, and it might be the reason why you are still single. Hi, welcome to Gems of Truth. My name is Vince, and I'm married to an amazing woman, and I want to share some gems with you today. It's all about relationships, being single, waiting for the right one, so let's get started. The first mistake I see a lot is girls having guy friends. That doesn't work. I don't care if he's like a brother to you. I don't care if you grew up together, if you know each other for 10 years. There's a problem. In the Bible, we see that God created man and woman, and you know what he said right after he created them? He blessed them, and then he said he gave them a purpose to be fruitful and multiply. That's like literally one of the main reasons why God created man and woman. I mean, there are way more, but this is one of those reasons, right? In Genesis 2:24, you know what it says? It says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So don't get me wrong, God's design is for you to have a man in your life. It's amazing, and to be one is just an amazing thing, not only physically, but like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, everything. So if you can't imagine marrying this guy, okay, don't send him all these photos, don't text him back all the time, don't reply to his Instagram stories all the time, right? That's just confusing for the guy. You know what, I actually did some research on this, and it's kind of shocking. You know what? There are people who don't believe in God, and they did surveys and studies, like scientific studies, on same-sex relationships and opposite-sex relationships, and also friendships. And you know what the main reasons are why guys want to be friends with girls? And this is actually if you ask the guys, right? Like, hey, why are you friends with this girl? You know what they say? They say, I want this opposite-sex friendship because I feel sexually attracted to her. I eventually want to have sex with her. And I'm also hoping that she's going to be my long-term partner. And let me be honest with you here. You know, I've talked to a lot of friends, and so many of them have told me in the past at some point, right, whether that was in high school or like in college or even after, right, they say like, oh, you know, I'm friends with this girl and she's amazing and I really, really like her. And I hope there's going to be more someday. You know, right now I don't think she wants more, but, you know, and they struggle because they want more, but the girl doesn't want more. Okay, so this brings me to my second point, okay? Girls being too nice to guys. I don't know if you know what I mean, but when we are in a Christian setting, we always say like, oh, you know, you gotta be nice, you gotta be friendly. My problem was I couldn't say no to people. So when a person came and that person said, you know, I like you, but then I was like, hey, you know, I don't want to be rude here, okay? And so I couldn't really say no, and that got me into a lot of trouble. So if you're looking for the right partner out there and you're being pursued by guys, you have to say no to the ones that you don't want to marry, right? And sometimes we don't do that because we're like, oh, you know what? If not, a better person comes. No, let me tell you, a better person will come. If you don't feel like this is the right one for you, then don't mess around, okay? God has the right one for you. You know, sometimes we start stuff because we're bored, we need attention, we are lonely, and we can't say no. That's really hard, you know? And you know what's even worse is that the other person is feeling hurt. Because we're starting something, we are being very nice, you know, and then the other person has a lot of hope, and then it just doesn't work. If you keep texting him back, if you keep replying to his stories, if you keep sending him photos, if you keep greeting his parents all the time, and you're like really, really nice, he's probably gonna think that you want more. So you gotta be careful. I believe it's a sin to mess with someone's heart, even at that point. I found a powerful quote that says, "To trifle with hearts is a crime of no small magnitude in the sight of a holy God." Okay, and the last thing is, don't be unequally yoked. You might already know it, but I can't emphasize this enough. I can tell you from my own experience, it's better to be single for your entire life than to be married to the wrong person for just one day. And I'm not only talking about marrying an unbeliever, the Bible is clear about that, but there are a lot of other ways how you can be unequally yoked. I've made a little list here. Check this out. Think about your faith and your religion. Also think about how dedicated am I and how dedicated is my partner. If I'm all about sharing the gospel, right, and living for Christ, and my partner just goes to church but he doesn't really care, what about that, right? Or imagine your values and your culture. If you're so far away as the East is from the West, right, and your partner is like all the way here and you're there, it's gonna be hard. Maturity and age. if you are marrying a guy and the guy's just always childish, right? And it's like super hard to have a really deep conversation with him, then you're not equally yoked. Also, if the person is like 20 years older than you, you might have some issues, and that's almost guaranteed. I'm not saying that you can't marry that person, I'm just saying that it's a lot harder. Okay, and then education and intelligence, right? If you are not on the same page there and you're trying to have a deep conversation, you're trying to talk about something, what the Bible says, what science says, and you're trying to have these conversations, and your husband is like, or your wife is like, oh, I don't understand anything, it's also a little difficult, right? So try to find someone where you see eye to eye. And then the last point I have here is attractiveness. You want to marry someone that you're attracted to. When Adam saw Eve for the first time, you know what he said? He was actually writing a poem. He was saying it out loud, right? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. It's actually a sin to marry someone that you don't love. And yeah, I'm not saying that you have to really go by this list and really make sure that everything works out. All I'm saying is try to remember it when you're looking for a partner that is equally yoked. Okay, but that's enough now. We talked about a lot of mistakes. Don't think about those mistakes too much, okay? I want to encourage you. God has the right partner for you. You might be waiting still. You might be still struggling, and you might not be really sure if he's the one or not. Seek God, and he will show you. Really, I also say that you want to enjoy your single years. When you're seeking God during your single years, you're going to look back at that time when you're married, and you're going to be like, wow, that was an amazing time. My wife and I, we both look back at our single years, and we were really trying to seek God and to really find out what is his will for our lives. And we look both back at this time and we say, well, that was amazing. It was a beautiful time before we got married, and it was the right time. So God's timing is perfect. Never forget that, okay? All right, don't forget to subscribe. We're gonna make more videos about relationships, being single, and all of that. And also the Bible, you wanna check out those.